Hello, everyone, and welcome to IELTS Time. I'm Archer, and today we're diving into a Part 3 topic goals. Whether they're personal, professional, or societal, goals are a big part of our lives. In this lesson, we'll listen to a dialogue between Jessica and Joseph. We've got 9 typical Part 3 questions about goals, and Joseph is going to give us some top-notch answers. After that, we'll break down those answers with explanations and useful vocabulary. So let's head over to the dialogue.
Do you think children are more likely to achieve their goals if they are encouraged?
Yes, I do. Encouragement plays a huge role in building a child's confidence. When parents or teachers show belief in a child, it gives them the courage to keep trying, even if they fail at first. For example, a child who wants to learn the piano might quit if no one supports them, but with encouragement, they're more likely to keep practicing and eventually succeed.
Who do you think has a greater influence on the goal setting of children, teachers, or parents?
I'd say parents have a stronger influence overall because they shape the child's values and lifestyle from a very young age. Teachers can inspire specific ambitions like wanting to become a scientist or an artist, but the long-term mindset usually comes from home. Of course, in some cases, a passionate teacher can have a life-changing impact, but that's less common than parental influence.
Is it important for teenagers to set goals? Why?
Yes, I think it's essential. Teenagers are at a stage where they're trying to figure out who they are and what they want in life. Having goals gives them direction and helps them avoid getting lost in distractions. Even simple goals like improving grades or learning a new skill can build discipline and a sense of achievement that prepares them for adulthood.
Do people usually set different goals at different stages of life?
Definitely, goals are closely linked to priorities, and priorities change as we age. For instance, a teenager may dream of getting into a good university. A young adult might focus on building a career or buying a house, and someone older may prioritize health and spending time with family. It's natural because what matters most to us shifts over time.
Have your life goals changed since your childhood?
Yes, they've changed a lot. When I was a child, my goals were quite idealistic. I wanted to be an astronaut, for example. As I grew older, I realized my strengths and interests were different, so my goals became more practical, like having a stable career and maintaining a good work-life balance. I think it's quite normal for people to adjust their goals as they become more realistic about life.
Do you think people are less committed to goals now than in the past?
In some ways, yes. In the past, people often had fewer choices, so once they set a goal, like working in one profession, they stuck with it for life. Nowadays, because of globalization and technology, people are exposed to so many opportunities that they often change directions. It doesn't necessarily mean they're less committed, but maybe they value flexibility and personal growth more than stability.
What factors motivate people to achieve their goals?
I think motivation usually comes from 2 main sources: internal and external. Internally, people might be driven by passion, ambition, or a desire to improve themselves. Externally, factors like family expectations, financial rewards, or competition can also push them to keep working hard. For example, many students study abroad not only because they want to learn, but also because their families want them to have better career prospects.
Which is more important, personal goals or work goals?
That's an interesting question. I'd say both are important, but in different ways. Career goals tend to be more tangible and realistic. You can usually plan a clear path to achieve them, like getting a promotion or finishing a degree. Personal goals like improving health, building better relationships, or just being happy are often less concrete and harder to measure. For example, how do you really set a goal to be happy. It's more of a general wish than a specific target. Still, personal goals shape your overall well-being, which can influence your work life too. So while career goals might be easier to achieve, personal goals are essential for long-term fulfillment.
What goals should a society have?
Well, I think every society should focus on two big things: fairness and sustainability. On the one hand, equity is really important of making sure people have equal access to education, healthcare, and opportunities. If society reduces those gaps, it not only helps individuals, but also creates more trust and stability overall. On the other hand, I'd say protecting the environment has to be a top priority. Things like cutting carbon emissions and investing in renewable energy are essential if we want future generations to live well. So, in my view, society's goals should balance people's well-being today with long-term sustainability.
Well, that was an excellent set of responses from Joseph. Now let's take a closer look at his answers, break down the main ideas, and highlight some useful vocabulary that you can use in your own speaking. Starting with encouragement and children's goals, Joseph explains that encouragement plays a huge role in building a child's confidence. He says that when parents or teachers show belief in a child, it gives them the strength to keep trying even after failure. His piano example illustrates this clearly. Without support, the child might quit, but with encouragement, they'll eventually succeed. Expressions like these make the answer sound natural and persuasive, while the example makes the idea concrete and relatable. When comparing parents and teachers, Joseph says parents usually have the stronger influence because they shape values and lifestyle from an early age. Teachers can inspire ambitions like becoming a scientist or an artist, but that happens less often. He also notes that a passionate teacher can have a life-changing impact. These contrasts make the answer balanced, and phrases like stronger influence and shape values give it precision. Talking about teenagers, Joseph stresses that having goals is essential. Goals help young people figure out who they are, give direction, and reduce distractions. He adds that even small goals bring a sense of achievement and prepare them for adulthood. The vocabulary here is practical and easy to reuse. Give direction and sense of achievement work especially well in IELTS answers. On life stages, Joseph explains that goals are closely linked to priorities, and these priorities naturally change with age. Teenagers may dream of getting into a good university. Young adults focus on building a career, and older people often prioritize family or health. This progression makes the idea very relatable, and the verbs dream of, focus on, and prioritize clearly signal shifting goals. Joseph contrasts childhood and adulthood well. Childhood goals are often idealistic, like wanting to be an astronaut, while adulthood brings more practical goals such as having a stable career and a good work-life balance. He says people naturally adjust goals as they recognize their real strengths and interests. The mix of idealistic and practical is a neat way to show contrast in IELTS answers. Looking at past and present, Joseph notes that people once had fewer choices, so they often stuck with one career for life. Today, people are exposed to opportunities through globalization and technology, so they may change direction more often. He argues that people now value flexibility rather than being less committed. The phrase "stuck with it" adds a natural spoken touch, while value flexibility introduces nuance. For motivation, Joseph divides it into internal and external. Internally, people may be driven by passion or a desire to improve. Externally, things like family expectations or career pressure push them forward. He gives the example of students going abroad for both personal goals and career prospects. This answer works well because it shows a clear structure and uses high-value phrases like driven by and career prospects. For personal and work goals, Joseph contrasts the two nicely. Work goals are tangible and realistic, such as finishing a degree or getting a promotion, because they have clear steps. Personal goals are less concrete and harder to measure. He even asks, how do you set a goal to be happy? Still, he concludes that personal goals bring long-term fulfillment, which also influences work life. That rhetorical question is a smart touch, and the vocabulary here is especially strong. On society, Joseph highlights two priorities: fairness and sustainability. Fairness means equity, giving people equal access to education, healthcare, and jobs, which creates trust and stability. Sustainability is a top priority for the future, so we need renewable energy and policies that protect future generations. These ideas sound thoughtful, and phrases like trust and stability and future generations make the answer broader and more impactful. That brings us to the end of today's lesson on goals. When practicing, first summarize the main idea in your own words, explain why it matters, give an example, and use clear, natural language. This approach helps your answers sound structured and natural. Thank you for joining me on IELTS Time. Keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.